While you were feeding parking meters and paying for soda, someone quietly handed over a 1972 Washington quarter that brought a serious price at auction, and the room barely blinked. That kind of sale sounds like a headline, but here's the truth. Most 1,972 quarters are ordinary, everyday coins. A tiny number, though, the ones with perfect surfaces, unusual errors, or exceptional provenance, can stop collectors cold. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for when you pull a 1972 quarter from your change jar, and whether that little silver-colored disc could be worth more than the cup of coffee it would normally buy. Open question. Ever wonder what transforms a quarter you toss into a vending machine into a piece a collector will pay handsomely for? It's not magic. It's a mix of condition, variety, and rarity, and knowing the difference is like having a metal detector for value. Let's start with a snapshot in time. The Washington quarter design, George Washington on the obverse and the eagle on the reverse, had been the nation's quarter for decades by 1972. These were clad coins, not silver, a copper core sandwiched between layers of copper nickel. They were meant to be durable, common, and easily produced in vast numbers. That's why most 1972 quarters you find in circulation are worth exactly what they say on the face, 25 cents. Good to know. But why does that not tell the whole story? Because within huge production runs, tiny imperfections and the luck of preservation create fascinating outliers. Here's the first big idea to keep in mind. Condition matters most. A coin that left the mint looking brilliant and never saw a pocket, a cash register, or a glove compartment is exponentially rarer than one that did. Collectors grade coins along a careful scale that ranges from heavily worn, circulated, to flawless, mirror-like mint state. For Washington quarters, the difference between a coin that's been dropped in a jar and one that's been in a protective album since the day it was struck can mean tens, even hundreds, of times the value. That's why the first thing to check is how the coin looks. Are the fields shiny? Is Washington's hair full of fine detail? Or are those hairs smoothed down from wear? Are the eagle's feathers crisp on the reverse? If yes, pay attention. If not, it's probably just pocket change. But condition alone doesn't tell the whole story. The second ingredient is variety. Every time the mint makes dies, the engraved metal stamps used to impress the coin's design, tiny differences creep in. Sometimes a die is repunched, and you can see a faint second letter or number. Sometimes the die itself receives a slight doubling impression during manufacture, which gives you what collectors call a double die. The third piece of the puzzle is error, genuine mistakes made during the production process. Errors can be anything from clipped planchets, where the metal blank was cut wrong, to off-center strikes, to coins struck on the wrong planchet. Errors are a broad category, and serious error collectors value dramatic and well-preserved specimens highly. For the 1972 quarter, the most talked about error types you might encounter are die doubling, repunched mint marks, and various strike or planchet flaws. If you find one of those, it's worth documenting and asking for an expert opinion. Okay, let's get practical. You're at the kitchen table. You have a handful of quarters dated 1972. What do you do first? Don't touch the surfaces more than you must. Handling, cleaning, or polishing will reduce value. If a coin looks dirty, leave it alone. Never use abrasive cleaners or metal polish. Look for luster. Original mint luster looks like a soft sheen when you tilt the coin against a light. It's the telltale sign of a coin that's never been circulated. Inspect the high points. Washington's cheek, hair, and the eagle's breast and wing tips were first. If those areas retain their sharpness, you're likely looking at an uncirculated piece. Check the date and mottos for doubling. Use a magnifier. 10x or so is ideal. And look at the date, the word liberty, and in God we trust. If letters look doubled but fuzzy and flat, that's usually machine doubling. If doubled letters are sharp and show a distinct secondary image, you may have die doubling. Find a mint mark. That small letter next to Washington's hair ribbon, or its absence, tells you where the coin was struck. D is Denver, S is San Francisco proofs, and no letter typically indicates Philadelphia. For many collectors, mint mark influences demand and desirability. Let's talk proofs and business strikes for a moment. Proof coins, specially made pieces struck for collectors, were produced with polished dies and special care intended to show mirror-like fields and frosted devices. If you find a 1972 S-proof, it will look different from a regular coin. Deeper contrast, more reflectivity, and often a cameo effect where devices appear frosted against a mirrored field. Proofs are inherently more collectible than worn business strikes, but condition matters there too. A damaged proof is still only as valuable as the market will bear. Now, values. I won't give you a get-rich-quick promise. Most 1972 quarters are worth face or a few dollars in circulated grades. Move into uncirculated territory, the coins that never circulated, and you start to see stronger premiums. Mid-range uncirculated coins can fetch tens of dollars. Superb uncirculated coins, especially those graded by a respected third-party service and earning high numerical grades, can command substantially more. Error in variety pieces can swing the needle even further, depending on how dramatic and well-documented the error is. Always remember, value is what someone is willing to pay. That means provenance, pictures, grading, and market demand all matter. Which leads us to the question, should you get your coins certified by a professional grading service? Certification, commonly called slabbing, has advantages. A coin in a sealed holder with an official grade can be easier to sell, and buyers often pay more for the confidence that certification provides. But slabbing costs money, and there's no guarantee the market will reward the grade with a profit. A practical rule many collectors follow: if experts believe the coin might be worth significantly more than the grading fee, and it appears to have the potential for a high grade or unique error, consider grading. If the coin is average, leave it in your own safe storage. Let's go deeper into doubling, because people often confuse it. Imagine the die, the steel punch that stamps the image, was struck twice with a tiny shift in between. The result is a strong, mirror image duplicate of letters or numbers on the coin itself. That's a double die, and it's born when a mint screws up the die preparation or hubbing. This kind of doubling yields crisp, readable duplication and is collectible. Now, imagine the die and coin produce a flattened, shelf-like doubling after the coin has been struck. That's machine doubling, usually the result of the coin moving slightly after it was struck. Machine doubling is flat, lacks detail, and rarely has real collector value. You want to learn how to spot the difference because it can mean the difference between a few dollars and a lot more. Another subtle but important topic, repunched mint marks. Early mint marks were sometimes punched more than once into the die, and if the second punch was slightly offset, you can see shadowed letters. A repunched mint mark on a 1972 quarter can be a collectible variety if the repunching is clear and documented by reference guides. These are small, nuanced differences, but collectors love that kind of detective work. So when you next sort that jar of change, give the 1972 quarters a good look. Most will be exactly what they say on the face. A few may be quietly remarkable. And if you find one that glows with mint luster or shows crisp, readable doubling or a curious mint mark, you might just be holding more than a quarter. You might be holding a story someone else will pay to hear.